Arkansas gets dismissed faster than almost any state in the country. People hear the name and think poverty, backwardness, punchlines. What they don't think about is the geology, the history, the biology, the economics, and the specific set of facts about this state that stop arguments. Cold. Arkansas is weirder, older, and more consequential than its reputation allows. Here are 35 facts that are completely real and almost impossible to believe. Number 1. Arkansas is the only place in the world where the public can dig for diamonds and keep what they find. Crater of Diamonds. State Park in Murfreesboro sits on an eroded volcanic pipe that pushed diamonds to the surface roughly 100 million years ago. Visitors pay a small entry fee, dig in the field, and keep whatever they find. Over 75,000 diamonds have been found by visitors since the park opened. The largest diamond ever found in the United States, 40.23 carats, came from this same deposit in 1924. Number 2. Arkansas has more species of freshwater fish than all of Europe combined. The state's rivers and streams, fed by Ozark Springs, Ouachita watersheds, and the Mississippi system, support biodiversity that Europe's vastly larger landmass cannot match. Conservation biologists have documented this repeatedly. It remains one of the least known ecological superlatives in North America. Fact. 3. The Arkansas Ozarks contain some of the oldest exposed rock in North America. The Boston Mountains sit on sedimentary rock formed over 300 million years ago. The landscape that most people dismiss as just hills is one of the oldest above-ground surfaces on the continent. Number 4. Walmart was founded in Rogers, Arkansas in 1962. What became the largest private employer in the United States started as a single store run by Sam Walton, who believed in keeping prices lower than anyone else was willing to go. Walmart's global headquarters remains in Bentonville today. The gravitational pull of that corporate presence has transformed Northwest Arkansas into one of the fastest-growing economic regions in the American interior. Northwest Arkansas is home to one of the most significant art museum collections in the United States. The Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville was funded by Alice Walton. It was built in a ravine on the edge of town, and it opened in 2011 with a collection that rivals institutions in New York and Washington. Admission is free. The museum sits in a town of 50,000 people in the Arkansas Ozarks, and it is genuinely world-class. Arkansas produces more than 60% of the world's bromine supply. Bromine, used in flame retardants, pharmaceuticals, and industrial applications, is extracted from underground brine deposits in the El Dorado area of South Arkansas. The concentration in Arkansas's subsurface geology is so extraordinary that the state effectively controls global supply. This is not widely known outside the chemical industry. The Buffalo National River was America's first nationally protected river, and it runs entirely through Arkansas. Congress designated it in 1972, before any template existed. The Buffalo flows free for 135 miles through the Ozarks, with no dams and no diversions. The canyon it has carved reaches 500 feet in some sections. It is one of the most ecologically intact river systems in the central United States. Most Americans have never heard of it. Fact 8. The name Arkansas comes from a Siouan language word used by the Quapaw people when French explorers arrived in the 17th century. American settlers argued about the pronunciation for generations until the state legislature officially declared in 1881 that the final S is silent. The pronunciation is not informal or regional, it is law. Calling it Arkansas with the final S sounded is technically a violation of a legislative act that has never been repealed. 9. The Mississippi Alluvial Plain in eastern Arkansas is one of the most agriculturally productive land masses on Earth. Arkansas produces more rice than any other state. The agricultural output of its eastern lowlands is globally significant and almost entirely invisible in the national conversation about American food. Number 10. Arkansas produces more than 90% of the world's supply of novaculite, a dense silica rock used for sharpening stones. Found almost exclusively in the Ouachita Mountains, Arkansas novaculite is still marketed worldwide as Arkansas stones. The state dominates a global market most people do not know exists. 11. The Ouachita Mountains run east-west rather than north-south, making them structurally unique among major mountain ranges in North America. Almost every significant range on the continent runs north-south. The Ouachitas run perpendicular to that pattern, the result of ancient compressional forces. The anomaly is visible from the air, and it creates a landscape that behaves differently from any other mountain system in the country. Johnny Cash was born in Kingsland, Arkansas, in 1932, and grew up in Diez, a New Deal resettlement community in the Mississippi Delta lowlands of the Northeast. The flat, poor, cotton country Arkansas that shaped Cash's voice is not the Arkansas of the Ozarks. It is the Delta, a landscape more similar to rural Mississippi than to the hills most people associate with the state. Cash's sound came from a specific place, and that place was one of the most economically marginal corners of an already marginal state. The Little Rock crisis of 1957, when President Eisenhower sent the 101st Airborne Division to enforce school desegregation while a governor deployed the National Guard to prevent it, was the most direct confrontation between federal and state authority over civil rights in American history. What is less often told is that desegregation resistance in Arkansas ran deeper and lasted longer than the Central High School moment suggests. The full story across the state is still incompletely told. Arkansas has the fourth largest proven natural gas reserves in the United States, concentrated in the Fayetteville Shale. The shale gas boom in the early 21st century brought investment, disruption, and a documented increase in seismic activity in areas not historically prone to earthquakes. The connection between injection wells and earthquakes is confirmed in peer-reviewed research, and it is contested by the industry. Hemmed-in hollow in the Buffalo National River Wilderness is the tallest waterfall between the Rockies and the Appalachians, approximately 209 feet. Getting to it requires a multi-mile hike, with no road access and no infrastructure at the base. It is one of the most spectacular natural features in the American interior, with almost no national profile. The barrier to access has kept it that way. If you're still with us, this is exactly what this channel is built for. Subscribe if you haven't, we're halfway through. 16. The town of Eureka Springs was built entirely on a hillside so steep that there are no intersections where all four streets meet on level ground. The entire Victorian downtown cascades down ravines in a layout that makes conventional urban planning impossible. Founded in 1879 around a spring believed to have healing properties, it was built in whatever configuration the terrain allowed. The result is an urban layout unlike anything else in the surrounding states. 17. Bill Clinton grew up in Hot Springs, a city that for decades operated as an open gambling destination under local political protection, hosting illegal casinos that attracted organized crime figures who used it as a neutral meeting ground. The gambling closed in 1967. He grew up there in the 1950s and the 1960s. The hot springs he knew was not the spa resort it markets itself as today. The Elaine Massacre of 1919 was one of the deadliest incidents of racial violence in American history. Black sharecroppers in Phillips County had organized a union to negotiate better cotton prices. White mobs aided by federal troops attacked the community. Estimates of black people killed range from 100 to several hundred. The federal government suppressed the union rather than protecting the sharecroppers. It was barely covered by the press at the time. It remains inadequately covered today. 19. Arkansas had a literal armed conflict over who was the legitimate governor in 1874. The Brooks-Baxter War involved two men who both claimed the governorship and who deployed armed supporters in actual combat in the streets of Little Rock. President Grant ended the fighting by recognizing one claimant. It is one of the more remarkable episodes in American state political history, and almost no one outside Arkansas knows it happened. 20. The elk herd in the Arkansas Ozarks, reintroduced in 1981 after being absent for over a century, is now the largest elk herd east of the Mississippi River. The herd has grown to several hundred animals in the Buffalo River watershed. Before 1981, there were no wild elk in the state within living memory. There are now enough that people drive from multiple states to see them. Number 21. Arkansas contains the only active diamond-bearing kimberlite pipe open to the public anywhere in the world. Most kimberlite pipes are privately owned and commercially mined. Crater of Diamonds is a state park. New diamonds surface every time it rains because erosion keeps exposing the volcanic formation below. The geological process that created it is still technically ongoing. The Arkansas River Navigation System, completed in 1971, made landlocked Tulsa, Oklahoma, a seaport. The system runs 445 miles through Arkansas, allowing commercial barge traffic to reach the Gulf of Mexico from the interior. Arkansas built and hosts the infrastructure. The system is largely celebrated in Oklahoma. The economic benefits flow in multiple directions. The infrastructure sits in Arkansas. 23. Arkansas borders 8 states, more than all but 2 states in the nation. They are Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Kentucky, which borders Arkansas across the Mississippi River. That central position places Arkansas at the intersection of the Midwest, the South, the Delta, and the Plains. It does not fit cleanly into any regional category, which is part of why it keeps getting simplified into a punchline. The town of Yellville in Marion County hosted an annual festival that, for decades, included dropping live turkeys from small aircraft over the town square. The practice attracted national attention and legal pressure before it ended. That history is thoroughly documented. It is the kind of Arkansas fact that makes people doubt everything else on this list, which is exactly why it belongs here. 25. Northwest Arkansas has grown faster than almost any metropolitan area in the United States over the last 2 decades, driven by Walmart's supplier ecosystem. Companies from around the world maintain offices in Bentonville to be near Walmart's buying operations. The result is an unusually international, educated, and economically dynamic population concentrated in the Ozarks that most national economic coverage barely mentions. The Caddo people built platform mounds, maintained trade networks reaching the Gulf Coast and the Great Plains, and supported dense populations in what is now Arkansas thousands of years before European contact. The state sits on top of one of the most significant pre-Columbian civilizations in the American interior. The archaeological record is dense, partially excavated, and frequently disturbed by the agriculture that made the same land productive. Blanchard Springs Caverns in Stone County is considered one of the most spectacular cave systems in the United States. When the public access portions opened, sections were still being actively explored. The cave extends far beyond what visitors can access. Parts remain unmapped. It sits in the Arkansas Ozarks. It draws far fewer visitors than comparable caves in more prominent tourism states, and it is genuinely extraordinary by any objective measure. Arkansas produces more farmed catfish than any other state, primarily in the Delta counties. The aquaculture industry represents a significant agricultural sector almost entirely absent from the national narrative about American food, which tends to focus on row crops and livestock while ignoring the scale of what happens in Arkansas's delta ponds. The Caddo River, the Little Missouri River, and the Ouachita River all begin within a few miles of each other in the Ouachita Mountains, and they flow toward completely different drainage basins. A subtle topographic divide separates them. Standing at the right point in the Arkansas Ouachitas, you are within walking distance of 3 rivers that will reach the Gulf of Mexico by entirely different paths across hundreds of miles. 30. In 2013, Arkansas passed Medicaid expansion by ballot initiative, becoming one of the first southern states to do so years before Missouri. The expansion covered hundreds of thousands of low-income Arkansans. It happened quietly, without prolonged legislative warfare, and is rarely cited in national health policy discussions as a model. Arkansas's public health decisions are more pragmatic than its political reputation implies. The Great Raft, a logjam stretching over 100 miles along the Red River on the Arkansas-Louisiana border, was one of the largest natural obstacles to navigation in American history. Cleared by Henry Shreve in the 1830s, it opened the Red River to commerce and transformed the regional economy. Shreve's name was given to Shreveport, Louisiana. The feat that made the city possible happened in Arkansas. 32. Arkansas quartz crystal deposits around Mount Ida in the Ouachitas supply a significant share of the global crystal market, both industrial and retail. The state is simultaneously the world's public diamond digging destination and one of the world's most significant quartz sources. The geology of Arkansas is genuinely strange, and it keeps producing commercially significant minerals that most people have no idea are there. 33. The Scott Farm site and dozens of other locations in eastern Arkansas contain evidence of continuous human occupation stretching back over 10,000 years. The Mississippi River bottomlands attracted human settlement across the full span of North American prehistory. The archaeological record is among the densest in the American interior. Much of that record sits beneath cotton fields, which have been disturbing it for 200 years. 34. Arkansas has official state symbols that collectively tell an unusual story. A state rock called bauxite, a state mineral called quartz crystal, a state gem called diamond, and a state cooking vessel called the Dutch oven. These are not aspirational. The bauxite reflects actual mining history. The diamond reflects an actual deposit you can visit. The Dutch oven reflects a cooking culture built around the outdoor life of a state that spent most of its history without reliable indoor infrastructure. They are geological and cultural facts dressed in legislative language. 35. Arkansas may be the most systematically underestimated state in America. It has diamonds in the ground and world-class art on its walls. It has some of the oldest geology in the interior and some of the most intact river systems in the country. It produced Johnny Cash, Bill Clinton, and Sam Walton, all from roughly the same area within a few decades of each other. The easy version of Arkansas, poor and backward and the butt of the joke, is not entirely false. It is just a very small part of a very complicated truth. That's 35 Arkansas facts that are documented, real, and built to reframe what you thought you knew. Leave a comment. Which one hit hardest? Which one are you looking up right now? Subscribe if this is what you came for. We cover the states that get dismissed and the truths that get ignored. Arkansas was just the beginning.